Morning, all. All right, so we're starting off today with some news of the day. We're also discussing last night's games and today's to prove I am actually here. I am actually back home. So Nick Suzuki has resumed skating for the Montreal Canadiens. He is set to join his teammates this week. And of course, the original timeline seemed to be a 2-week period before he'll be good to go. And so it looks like he'll be all set to come back before the season gets started. And that's great news. Montreal, a team that is expected to be rebuilding and likely stay outside the playoff picture, but still, you don't want your young center being out of the lineup for very long. Speaking of players being out of the lineup, we'll see how long Mikheyev's going to be out. Likely today, we'll find out. After the game last night, Bruce Boudreau said there would be some more information today on what happened and how long he might be out. I'd like to apologize to Leafs fans everywhere. It looks like we broke Mikheyev and it didn't take a game, so I'm sorry. So hopefully it's not anything bad. Hopefully it was just abundance of caution and all that fun stuff. There were a few injuries in that game last night, though. Podkolzin was not one of the guys who got hurt, and he was impressive in a loss. I thought Podkolzin might have played his best game as a Canuck. The thing is, it's preseason, so it doesn't matter, and it was against the B team for Calgary, so you've got to keep it in perspective, right? But Jim Rutherford asked about Kuzmenko. Rick Dollywell reporting that he said Kuzmenko was trying to do too much and that his shifts were too long. Also saying that it could take a month, it could take a year for him truly to get adjusted and acclimated. And it's something that I think is easy enough to do as a player coming into your first camp. You really want to impress. And then in that preseason game, you really want to impress as well. And you want to show coach, general manager, everybody, this is what I can do. So I can understand those shifts being a little bit longer. And so, yeah, I think he'll probably get that together. I thought Kuzmenko played all right. Again, the Canucks had the veteran lineup at home, and just it really was a matter of the Flames' young guys wanting it a little more, and Wolf really stealing one. Again, sadly, preseason, so those numbers get wiped out once you get into the regular season. Out of Ottawa, DJ Smith saying that Mark Kastelik will play in the NHL this year. Kastelik is seen as a guy who might get a fourth line role with the Ottawa Senators, and if he breaks camp with the team, we'll see how long he sticks around. But yeah, Kastelik would be a good story if he did make the team, and I mean Smith has some say in that as the coach, right? So we shall see what happens there. I have to say too, I've already started seeing a lot of this both on Twitter. I've seen it on YouTube. Heck, I've seen it on Facebook as well. And it's insert name of vet here was lazy. So people watch the preseason game and they're like, well, look at that guy. He's terrible this year. What's he thinking? The veterans already know they have jobs. For a veteran player, it's about going out there, making sure your skating's up to par, making sure that you're at least, getting up to speed and that you're not getting hurt. And so you're putting yourself in a position where, yeah, it'd be great if you win the game, but what's more important is you're not getting hurt and that you're progressing towards where you want to be when that puck drops on October 11th. So the whole veteran was lazy thing to me is subjective. And I used to do that too. I used to get concerned about veteran players in the preseason and complain they weren't working as hard as the kids. But again, I don't know that it's not working as hard as they're just trying to be smart about it, right? So that's why in last night's game, you could see Arsenault skating around the ice trying to start fights. He wants to make the team. He wants to get the Canucks to pay attention and say, hey, we can call this guy up early in the season if we need somebody. And for a veteran player, they don't have to do that. They've already got the GM and the coach's attention. They're not going to get cut. So we're not going to see like a top 6 forward in the NHL who scored a bunch of points last year getting cut this year because he didn't play well in the preseason. Oh, you want a fan base to turn. Good news for Boston fans. At least I think so. That's why I'm wearing my Pastrnak jersey. He is on a line with Hall and Krejci at practice. So there's a good chance that we'll see them together. And that was a good line when they played together a couple seasons back. So hopefully they can pick up where they left off. That might sound overly optimistic, but I think overly optimistic is exactly how things are in the preseason until the puck drops and then the preseason conversation becomes, great, so we're going to be bad, huh? So it's like, I love this time of year. It's very entertaining to see these posts about how terrible this player is and how terrible that team is. And the funny thing is, it continues into the regular season. We'll see a team start off like 0-4-1, slow start, and immediately everybody will jump right off said bandwagon. So Anyways, coming out of last night, we had a lot of overtime yesterday. Pittsburgh beat Columbus 3-2 in overtime. Columbus got that back with a 5-1 victory, though. So they technically get 3 points out of those 2 games, which won't matter as of now. But it's fun, right? Buffalo beats Washington 4-3 in overtime. Minnesota beats Colorado 3-2 in overtime. Colorado split squad as they also were in action and beat Vegas 3-1. Anaheim beats Arizona 3-2. Edmonton beats Winnipeg 4-0. San Jose beats LA in overtime 3-2. Calgary won both games against Vancouver. The one in Vancouver 3-2 in overtime, and then the one in Calgary 4-0. One thing that it does get debated at this time of year is that, people pay good money to go to preseason games. Now, this week, I'm taking my wife and our kids to the game in Vancouver against Seattle. And it's pricey. It's pricey, and it's a preseason game. So one thing, and I totally understand people complaining about this, is when you go to this game, say I go to Seattle and Vancouver, and if it's the B team for Seattle and for Vancouver, I might be seeing maybe 5 or 6 regulars. And they may not be the good regulars. They might be, I can't say good. That's wrong. Let me back up. They're not going to be the marquee guys, right? So maybe it'll be the 4th line guys are getting 1st line minutes because it's all AHL and junior age guys from there. I get people complaining about some of the ticket prices, though. I mean, they're lower. Like the preseason tickets were cheaper than the regular season tickets, certainly, but not by as much as you would think. And so it is something that I do find kind of head scratching personally. Just on some level, the idea that if somebody pays for a ticket to watch an NHL game, they may want to see more NHL players than that bare minimum, that minimum of veterans, right? So there are also instances where teams will have enough players on tryouts and all that fun stuff. And it feels like that might be just to satisfy that requirement in preseason games, right? So if you go to a preseason game and you look around and you go, wow, I need a program because I don't know who any of these guys are, you're probably not alone in that. Now, today's games, Florida and Nashville played twice. One at 4 o'clock Eastern, which is 1 o'clock Pacific. One at 8 o'clock Eastern, which is 5 o'clock Pacific. You've got the New York Islanders and the New York Rangers. That's at 7 Eastern. Same with New Jersey and against the Montreal Canadiens. And then an hour later, St. Louis is playing Dallas. A bloodless rivalry is basically how I look at St. Louis Dallas. They've met so many times in the playoffs. If you date back to the Minnesota North Stars, it's way more. And yet I don't feel the hate between these teams you should for teams that have played each other that many times. Edmonton's playing against Seattle. I saw Edmonton's roster for tonight. Good chance Seattle pulls this off. It is not a veteran squad for the Oilers at all. And LA against Vegas. So that could be entertaining as well. But we will see veterans that play maybe 1, maybe 2 preseason game. And again, it's not as much that they're lazy or they're not motivated. It's that team knows what they're getting from them. They know they're not worried about whether or not that guy's going to play. They're evaluating whether or not certain players are going to make the main team. They're evaluating which guys they're going to send to the AHL, which ones should go to the ECHL. Players they want to send back to junior. Maybe they got a guy they need to loan to a European team to get his development going. So there's a lot of things going with these preseason games. But it might be tough to watch at times. There were points to that game last night between Calgary and Vancouver that were, it was preseason. It was a very, very preseason-y game at points. But hey, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. I'm going to add in closing, I'm not worried about the preseason games I can't watch. I think it was 4 years ago I was worried about the preseason games I wasn't able to watch. And then they didn't matter. It really didn't matter. So I'm not going out of my way to find the preseason games. If they're being streamed on YouTube, great. If they're being streamed online, awesome. I'm not worried. If it's on TV, I'll watch it. I'll do a review. But outside of that, I'm not really having any concern. Once we get to early October, things are going to be quite busy with regular season games. So just pacing myself a little bit. And again, just remembering that the preseason games, as soon as they're done, they're done. And there's more storyline that comes out of after the game than there is of what happens during the game. So there you go. Thank you guys so much, though, for all your support. It is nice to be home, and I've had a decent night's sleep last night. So there you go. Thank you guys again. I'll talk to you soon.